The president has seen a mountain of evidence that there was fraud committed in over 10 different states now. 3 or 4 of them, it's substantial. It takes a little while to gather it, but we're about to file suit in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania, for the entire state, in order to allege that there are many, many more unlawful ballots than the difference between him and Joe Biden.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Freedom Files. My name is Ben Hedges, and we are continuing our coverage of alleged voter fraud in the US presidential election. So you may or may not know that Rudy Guiliani, President Trump's personal lawyer, is in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania right now, filing a lawsuit for the whole state. It was supposed to be filed today. Last time I checked, it hadn't been filed yet, but it may be filed by the end of the day. In addition to that, Sidney Powell, another attorney, has been calling attention to certain electronic fraud in voting systems. Now, this isn't what Giuliani is looking into. He's looking into the other side of it. So let's deal with what Giuliani is looking at first and give some updates on that. Now, yesterday, Giuliani said in a television interview on Fox that there are, I think, five states that have the same 3 issues, and they are not being allowed into ballot counting rooms, okay, so this is for Republican ballot counting observers, okay, being locked out of rooms where ballots are being counted, backdated ballots, and then the last thing is dead people voting and some votes not being counted, okay, so these 3 things that he is looking into. Now, he gives an example. I'm just checking out the figures here. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He says that he has 70 witnesses who were poll observers who have said that they were not allowed to watch the count of mail-in ballots in Pennsylvania. And this pertains, he says, to 350,000 mail-in ballots which were opened. So they arrived in sealed envelopes and they were opened without Republican observers being able to observe them being opened. And just for that fact, these ballots are now apparently illegal ballots, okay? They cannot be counted, even if you bring them out again and recount them, because you can't tell whether they've been tampered with, okay? So the law states that there must be observers to see these mail ballots being opened from their sealed envelopes. And if that can't be achieved, obviously that can't be achieved again because they've already been taken out of their envelopes, so they are illegal ballots. And according to Giuliani, shouldn't be counted. Here's what he said about that.
The minute you discard the envelope, you don't have a person inspect it, it's an illegal ballot. And they even ultimately defied a court order to do that. In Pittsburgh, very similar, about 150,000 ballots. In their case, during the first half, they didn't allow us access. But then when the court issued an order, they allowed us access. So instead of 300,000 ballots, there's 150,000 there. That would amount to 450,000.
And yeah, so you can see from the end of that as well, in addition to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, they've also got this problem in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 150,000 ballots there that have this problem and are now illegal ballots and should not be counted, should be disqualified from the count, okay? Now, the next state Giuliani is going to move on to after Pennsylvania is Michigan. He says he has 200 witnesses in Michigan of similar things, Republican observers not being allowed in, backdating ballots, etc. And there was actually a lawsuit filed today, okay, Monday, November 9th in Michigan, which alleges a load of similar things, okay? So let's actually take a look at the actual text of this lawsuit right now. So it alleges poll workers making up fake names for voters whose names didn't appear on the qualified voter file when those votes should have been disqualified, no verification of signatures, and also backdating of absentee ballots. Tens of thousands of absentee ballots arriving without sealed envelopes, and all for Biden. And after poll challengers discovered fraud taking place in Detroit, Michigan, they were locked out of the counting room. And I think that's referring to the now famous clip of poll workers in Detroit, Michigan, boarding up the windows so that the people they had seemingly had locked out of the room could not see into the room, even using binoculars because the windows were boarded up, okay? And Giuliani has said he also has about 200 witnesses of similar things in Nevada as well. So he's starting in Pennsylvania, he's then going to Michigan, and then he's moving across the country to different states, presumably Nevada. That lawsuit we just had a look at, by the way, that was not filed by Giuliani, that was filed by another lawyer in Michigan. But let's now talk about Sidney Powell, because she tweeted out today this: "It's not a glitch, it's a feature of Dominion designed to allow Democrats to steal votes of Americans. We must demand election integrity." So Dominion, she's talking about Dominion voting machines, and this is something she talked about before. We showed the clip of her on Fox Business talking about electronic fraud, which she believes, she alleges, may have switched 3% of the vote, which is truly a huge amount. And she's looking at the pre-voting, okay, through electronic voting machines. So a different thing to what Giuliani is looking at. Now, Sidney Powell shared this article from the Epoch Times, which also says that there are witnesses who say that voting machines in Michigan appear to be connected to the internet. And, that's obviously a huge worry because they could potentially be, hacked into. And that was actually from the same lawsuit that we quoted from just a few moments ago. So those are kind of the updates with the lawsuits and stuff. I just want to give you a few things, last few points. So Rand Paul tweeted this out today, which was quite interesting. Your government sent 1.1 million dead people stimulus checks. Wonder how many of these folks also voted absentee. Now, I thought that was pretty interesting. I do want to just clarify, though, for the sake of accuracy, stimulus checks go off of IRS tax return data, not election rolls, okay, voter rolls. So it's a different list of names, just for being objective there. However, it does make you think when the government has a list of names, how quickly do they manage to update that list of names after people pass away? Okay, with stimulus checks, 1.1 million people still got checks from tax return data even though they had died. Okay, 1.1 million names hadn't been updated, that they were deceased. So with the voter rolls, it's kind of reasonable to kind of think that perhaps something similar may happen. Now, one final thing I want to draw attention to today is that Trump fired Mark Esper, the defense secretary. He tweeted it out, and he replaced him with this guy, Christopher C. Miller, who, according to his biography on the Department of Defense website, has a background in counterterrorism, unconventional warfare, and irregular warfare, among other things. So this really made me think, and it's just an opinion, but why would he bring in a new defense secretary when he only has 2 months left of, his presidency? Okay, surely he would just let Esper, keep on going until the end. It's not like he's going to start any new wars or anything like that. But then on top of that, he brings in a guy who has a background in, counterterrorism and irregular warfare and unconventional warfare. So it really makes you think, does Trump expect to win through the courts by having all these votes disqualified like we saw in the lawsuits, and then for massive riots to happen by Antifa and other insurgent groups, which he could then invoke the Insurrection Act against and use the military to put down these protests? And in a way, that would be counterterrorism organizations domestically. Unconventional warfare, that also refers to things like psyops and possible election fraud could be seen as unconventional warfare. So anyway, just an opinion, just kind of connecting dots there, nothing official, but it's certainly interesting to watch and makes you think. All right, guys, we will give you more updates tomorrow on the situation with all these lawsuits, what's going on in the Department of Defense, and everything to do with the elections. As always, please subscribe if you're new, leave a comment with what you think about all this below, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.